James-san, okaeri. How's it going, man? Welcome back to Japan. It looks like you've been through a bit of a war getting back. With airlines, I grew up as a kid flying a lot because of my dad's work with the army and the fact that my mum's family is Australian, even though I'm a Kiwi. So we used to fly United a lot because the flights from Los Angeles to Australia would always stop through New Zealand, and we would get on and get the cheap flights onto Australia. And that was only a 3-hour flight. But it was based on using United and Continental as a child that I really thought that Qantas is a really great airline. And it's been pretty much... And the thing is, Qantas isn't really a bad airline. It's a pretty average airline, but there's nothing really obviously bad about it, like you will notice on airlines like United. But what I've found basically is for the longer flights, longer than 9 or 10 hours, which is basically going from New Zealand to anywhere other than Australia. I also fly from Japan to Australia and throughout Asia when I can. Experience has taught me that I will always ask first for what the cheapest flight is if the flight's more than 9 hours, but I will also follow up and ask, and how much more expensive is it to fly Singapore Airlines? Singapore Airlines is the best economy class I've ever been on, and it kind of ruins other airlines for you. I've done connecting flights in Singapore onto joint flights with Qantas and had to get onto a Qantas plane for the rest of the way to Australia, and it's not the same. And it's not just good-looking stewardesses and that. It's genuine service and real sort of quality. Just nothing to worry about. It's actually pleasant being there, and they really deck out economy. It feels like business class, what I imagine business class would on other airlines. So for flying across the Pacific to the States, I've only actually done that twice. And to tell you the truth, one time was 10 years ago, which I can't remember. Another time was last year. Was it last year? Actually, end of year before last. And I was lucky enough to go ANA for that. There was an option for it. It was for a company thing. And I've flown ANA a few times in the last few years. I only flew for the first time with them recently. And, gel isn't very much. I don't think very much of gel. But ANA was pretty impressive. I mean, not quite Singapore Airlines impressive, but it's exactly like you say. There's just none of that stuff to worry about in my experience. And like I said, I think it's worth a reasonable surcharge on top of the cheaper air ticket price. That's my experience. Anyway, I feel your pain. I know it's a hard flight, even without all those issues. It's a hard flight coming back in that direction from the States to Japan. You're probably going to need a couple of days to recover. But yeah, no, I think ANA's probably the best for going to the States. If you can get on Singapore Airlines, if there's some way that they can fly from Japan, that's pretty cool. Korean Airlines I've used. Korean Airlines I think is okay for short haul flights. I've flown Korean Airlines to New Zealand. And I love Korean people and I love Korean food, but I've got my issues with being on a Korean Airlines flight with little kids with like really flaming hot chili chips and garlic chips and stuff, and people putting on makeup every 30 minutes. It's like being in a really cramped elevator with someone who has too much perfume and they're eating like eye-watering chili stuff. So I don't know, for a long flight I'm not so sure about Korean Airlines actually. I think, well, you've got a different set of issues to what you'd have from United. I'd still say it's probably above United because I know how horrible that can be. But yeah, no, definitely. Best airlines that I've heard of are Emirates, Singapore Airlines, and I think ANA actually really holds its own. So yeah, worth a little bit extra if you can afford it for economy class. Hope that helps. Peace, man. Oyasumi.